Hey, Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome back to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud, back in the Dyrud Dojo here. Apologize for the lighting. Don't exactly have studio quality lights in my car, but I'm on USC's campus. We just wrapped up Wednesday's practice. We were able to talk to Coach Riley again, able to talk to Coach Lynn, and some defensive players. Just wanted to get on here before heading home, give a brief recap, not a ton of big news to report. Obviously, team preparing for Northwestern Friday night under the lights at the Call-In. Can't wait to see you all there. Hopefully, we can all hang out beforehand. That's what's nice about the night games. We got all day to hang out and chill and prep for the game. So hopefully, see some of you out there tailgating, having some fun. I'd like to make some rounds and give me a shout. Drop a comment below if you're going to be there. Would love to meet up and say what is up. But yeah, so today primarily talking to D'Anton Lynn, and one thing, really the only thing. A couple things we'll get to, but the one big thing that was kind of the takeaway was that, mentioned Northwestern's offensive line being one of the best groups that they will face so far this season. And at first hearing that, Northwestern, you're like, okay, they're having a better season, 5-3, obviously battled against Nebraska, and I think have surprised a lot of people with that record. But you would not think of them as a better offensive line than Michigan or Nebraska or Notre Dame or even Nebraska, who they just played. So, I did some digging, and PFF, Pro Football Focus, obviously is not the end-all, be-all. It is not the Bible, but it is a nice, simple metric to kind of go off of to at least give us some context without just sitting down and grinding film with these coaches. And in terms of pass block grade, Northwestern against Nebraska last week finished with an 88.2 pass block grade, one of the best in the Big Ten. The previous week against Purdue finished with an 85.5. They've had two other instances of an 80-plus pass block grade and two other instances of a 70 pass block grade. Had a really bad week one game apparently against Tulane with a 43 and then a 64 against Penn State in Happy Valley. But definitely one of the better pass block grade in terms of PFF grading teams in the Big Ten. In terms of run blocking, not quite as proficient, but still fairly good. 61.2 run block grade last week against Nebraska. Had a 61.8 run block grade against Penn State. Their best came against Western Illinois, shocker, 86, and they got a 77.6 run block grade against Oregon, so fairly good. So, for context, looking at, let's just say Notre Dame, Notre Dame's pass block grade last week against Boston College was 87.6, so a little lower than Northwestern's, and against USC, again, this is why these grades are a little wonky, because it felt like that game was absolutely dominated by Notre Dame's offensive line. But they were obviously run-heavy, not pass-heavy. Their pass block grade was a 62.2 against USC, and their run block grade was a 73.6. And then finally, USC, just to give some more context there, last week an 81.2 pass block grade, a 73.6 run block grade. So, I think there's some truth to that. Again, not grinding the tape with these guys, but Northwestern is fifth in the Big Ten in rush yards per game. They average just underneath USC, who's fourth. USC 203.6 per game. Northwestern 187.9. So I do think it is a better rushing team, a better offensive line unit than many would think on the onset. Obviously, it's Northwestern. They're not one of the premier teams in the Big Ten. They're kind of an afterthought. They're really a surprise, as I said, as 5-3. So this defensive line group, and I'll look more into it for our preview show coming, tomorrow leading up to Friday. But this defensive line group is going to definitely have their work cut out for them going up against this unit. So I think that was the big takeaway for me from D'Anton Lynn is recognizing, hey, this is actually a really good offensive line unit. How do we attack that? Will we see more Carlin Jones? Will we see more Jakeem Stewart? What will the rotation look like on this defensive front? So, just an interesting little tidbit there. Also, I asked about Matai, freshman linebacker, got some reps there in the game, which is great to see. I think he has a bright future. So I asked D'Anton Lynn about that, and he said, yeah, he's a guy that's really shown in practice. He's got great speed. He's played extremely well on special teams, so he continues to earn our trust, and we want to continue to give him more and more reps. So he's a guy, depending on that linebacker rotation, we could certainly start seeing more of as the season continues to progress. Now, will we see him this Friday at Northwestern? Potentially. We'll see. Like I said, more of a special team standout. But it was nice to see him out there and flash a little bit. It was like one series, but still get in there, and it just gives you more depth and versatility kind of in that linebacker group. Spoke with Marcellus Williams, who I've mentioned I think had one of the best games, or if not the best game of his young career so far with USC, and just talked about his mindset and how he continues to feel like he's getting better each week. D'Anton Lynn also mentioned that, like stacking games. He's getting better and better each week and haven't even reached the ceiling yet. So getting more comfortable in the secondary and whatnot. Talked to Bishop Fitzgerald and just talked about how it makes their job a lot easier when the front seven can be more dominant, like we saw against Nebraska, and controlling the run in a better fashion, being more gap sound. It obviously helps the back end and in the pass rush. If the pass rush gets home, I mean, it's common sense, right? It's going to ease things on your back end and secondary. So Bishop Fitzgerald, very complimentary of the unit playing complementary football, which is certainly going to be necessary against this Northwestern team that's going to want to get quick to intermediate throws, want to establish running the football, as I mentioned, 187 yards per game behind that pretty good offensive line front. So, yeah, short little takeaway there for you, but Northwestern's offensive line, better than many would guess. I'll dive more into it later this week. We're already later in the week. I'll dive more into that tomorrow, I guess, as the game is on Friday. So, just reporting here from Downey Parking Structure at USC. Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat that you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayav in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10, so now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also, right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB, and now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family, and when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.